So welcome back to another Thursday on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your Thursday host, Yucca, and this week we are talking about apps and gadgets. So I think it's been a long time since I've done a car video, several years actually, but here we are. So our topic comes from Kara. You can read the exact wording in the description box below. But basically, just what apps or gadgets do we use in our practice? So, thinking about mine, thinking about the apps that I use, it was kind of hard to come up with something that wasn't somehow related to my practice. Because for me, being a pagan isn't something separate from the rest of my life, it's part of my normal everyday life. Integrating those things together is very important for me. So I came up with just a couple of things to talk about as examples. And the two in specific, in particular, or three, I guess, because I'll talk about a gadget as well. And those are the basically time management apps and also some light management. So the time management is just a normal calendar and clocks that come with. I just have a cheapo Android. This comes standard with that. But what I use them for is the clock in here has alarms that I can set, and I haven't reached the limit to how many alarms I can set yet, so I don't know what that is. But um, as a pagan family, one of the things that we make an effort to do is to try to have time every day. We call it there's sun time and star time. So we try and make sure to go out and be outside for, at least 10 minutes in the middle of the day, get that good sun on our skins, get that vitamin D synthesis happening, the earth between our toes and our fingers if possible. Sometimes the earth is, the ground here is frozen, can't do that, but we can still be outside and spend time outside. I think that's really important for our moods. And just having that connection, but also the star time. So going outside when it's dark at some point. And I'll use the clock to set reminders to be like, hey, you know, step away from the screen for a while. Whatever you're doing, it's okay. Just take a moment to step outside, to go ahead and breathe and just go ahead and connect and be present with the world, because it's so easy to get so caught up in whatever else. Um, and then the calendar I'll use for to remind me about special things that are happening. If there's one of the big showers, like if it's the Pleiades coming up or something like that, I'll set the calendar to remind me, hey, you want to be outside at night because this is going to be really beautiful. This is going to be really special. And so that the time management apps kind of help me to be more present, and I try and use apps in anything really in life to see, okay, what do I want? What's my goal? And typically that's to feel better, to feel healthier, to be more present, to take care of my family, to, all of those things. How can I use those to help me towards these goals? Now, the other one that I wanted to mention was the lights. And we're really into sort of the ancestral health perspective or framework, and that ties really well in with some of the pagan practices that we have as well. And one of the things that's really important is sleep hygiene. So, if you think about it, our bodies took millions of years crafting themselves to the environment of our planet, of our world, in on this very specific thin shell part of it that we live on. I mean, there's a lot more to Earth than just the part that we experience. But anyways, so we adapted to these very specific cycles, these cycles of nature. And as pagans are often really big on talking about being in touch with the cycles of nature. And this is one that's really important for us because it's every single day, and that's the cycle of night and day. And our bodies are built, we created our bodies to be in sync with that, with the sun, with the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun, and our sleep cycles and our hormone cycles are all connected with that. So an app that we use that really helps with that, there's actually two different ones. On the phone, we use one called Twilight, and on the computer, we use Flux, which is f.lux. And what it does is it's a blue light blocker. And why that's important, so the sun, the light that comes from the sun has all the colors in it. It's white light. So one of the colors that we receive is blue. In our eyes, we have photoreceptors that sense blue light. And when they see the blue light, they say, okay, body, do not produce melatonin. And melatonin, among many functions that it has in the body, but the real famous one that it has is it's the one that helps us calm down. It's the one that helps us wind down, go to sleep. Our body starts producing it, excuse me, before it's time for sleep. It's what makes us start to get sleepy. And it, along with a handful of other hormones, regulates our rest cycle. And when we're resting is when we're healing, it's when we're learning, it's when all kinds of things are happening. But when we get blue light, our body says, don't make that. Don't make the melatonin. So these blue light blockers are really helpful. Now, of course, it can only block it coming from the screen, right? Because the screen, you all have seen it, the that eerie blue light that comes from the screen, whether it's the computer or the phone. And actually, our electrical lights typically have quite a bit of blue as well. So what happens is when we spend time in front of the screen or with the lights on after dark, our body's not able to produce the melatonin and is getting out of sync with whatever the cycle outside is. And we don't end up getting enough time away from these lights to get enough melatonin to get enough sleep for the period that we have. And that can really can really cause a lot of problems for our health, and just that connection with nature, which I believe leads to health, as one of the many components of it, that is. So we use those apps on our phone, that's Twilight and Flux on the computer, to block the blue light and change it so what we see is kind of like a reddish amber light. It warms the temperature of the light so that the blue's not there. We can still look at the screen because, frankly, we're not going to not look at the screen. We don't have a TV, but we have computers and the cell phones, and we're on Facebook and checking texts and, reading books and doing all kinds of things. So we're not going to stop using the screens, but we can stop that blue light, and that makes a huge difference. So the third thing I was going to mention is actually connected to these things, and it's not an app, but it still has to do with the red light, blue light, all of that, is I mentioned that our electric lights also have a lot of blue. So what we do in our home, or I was going to say home, is we actually have some red bulbs. So when we're getting closer to, and this is especially important in the winter when the lights are on for a longer period of time because the days are shorter, we have red lights for the evening, and you get used to it. Actually, it's really nice. It's like fiery, kind of like being by the fireplace or a camp stove, the campfire or something like that. And we'll put those lights on at night. And now during the day, we actually have a very bright white daylight LED. So these are all LEDs that we have, because our house doesn't have a lot of southern exposure. So it's pretty dark inside. So if we're inside, it's not as good as being outside, but we still have that daylight. So that helps a lot. I think this video has probably gone far longer than I intended. Thought this was going to be a quick topic to talk about the apps, but those are the ones that help us the most in terms of apps for our practices, I suppose. Yeah, so I would love to hear from you folks. I know you've already been commenting in some of the previous hosts' videos, but if you have anything to add, I would love to hear that in the comments section. And I did want to apologize for missing last week was the subs, but the week before that, I had a family member who had a cardiac emergency, so I was not able to make the video, even though I was really looking forward to that particular topic. But as always, we've got some good topics lined up, and I look forward to reading your comments and sharing with you next week. So take care.